Hey, Montel Williams here. Look, I've got some incredible news to share with you. I want to tell you about my brand new book that's coming out that's called The Sailing of the Intrepid. Now, this book is more than just an historical account. It's a tribute to the brave men who served aboard the USS Intrepid and a celebration of their extraordinary legacy. Writing this book was such an incredible story, and I'm really thrilled to be able to share it with you. So don't wait to grab your little piece of history. The book is available right now to order. You can go to montelmedia.com, and you can even get a limited autograph signed copy. Now, thank you so much for your support. I can't wait for you to read this incredible story of the sailing of the Intrepid. I'll see you on the pages. Well, hey guys, welcome back to Let's Be Blunt with Montel, where we continue to explore the incredible story of resilience, recovery, and advocacy with Ian McGann and his wife, Caitlin Bellucci. If you tuned in for part one, you know Ian's journey is nothing short of miraculous. From surviving a brainstem stroke with only a 5% survival rate to walking unassisted within 30 days, Ian's story is a testament to the power of grit, determination, and love. Today, we're picking up right where we left off. Ian, Caitlin, welcome back to the show. How have you been doing?
Thanks, Montel. We're doing great. Oh, I'll speak for myself. I'm doing well. And super happy to be back on, and super happy to for you to share your platform to elevate our story.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here as well. Big fan of yours. I didn't say it before, but a little bit of a fangirl. Gotta say, you're great.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, when we left off during part one, you said that everything changed once you were picked up and put in the helicopter. Let's pick it up right there. So when you got picked up by the helicopter, what happened?
Okay, so I want to be crystal clear about this, Montel. So I experienced human hell with the way that I was treated. When Penn Star, the helicopter for University of Penn, came to Chester County Hospital and they did a transfer of care, the second the technician from Penn Star got out of the helicopter and touched me and looked in my eyes, I knew it was different. I wasn't out of the woods yet, but I could feel the connection of empathy and compassion, and I knew I had to hold on. And they put me in the helicopter, and they looked at me and they said, "We got you." I'm telling you, after what I went through, to hear someone say that, I felt seen I felt seen by someone other than my wife that night. And they flew me to the city, and I'm holding on for dear life. And I know that in the country, or where we are, suburbs, the lights and the buildings are closer to the ground and farther apart. And so I'm tracking in my eyes, out of my peripheral, how much longer I have to hold on and keep myself alive. And when I saw the skyscrapers in Philadelphia, I'm telling you, it was like, you are almost there, kid. Just keep going. They wheeled me. They got me out of the helicopter, and Penn Star was awesome. And Montel, it was like a Murphy's Law night. So although these people, I finally felt like I was going to be saved, I was still like bracing for fear, and I thought I was going to fall off the helipad, because my brain was like, everything that's gone, Murphy's Law. So I know there's nets there because, construction and everything. So I was like, Murphy's Law. And I remember bracing my body for the fall off the helipad, and we went by the edge and it clicked. And I thought, it didn't happen. And then they rolled me up the ramp. The doors to the University of Penn, their helicopter unit, opened up, and there's 8 people like ready to receive me. And I'm talking, it was like, aha, the doors open. We're going from dark to light, and they're running around, and And I'm like, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what I see on TV. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. And something very interesting happened. It put me in the elevator to take, I think to take me down to the catheter. Hold on, let me get my words about me. Catheter, the cath lab. And I'm in there in the elevator with nurses, and there's a gentleman. I think he was a surgeon of some kind in a wheelchair, and he looks back. He looks back from his wheelchair to me laying in the gurney, and he says to me, "Ian, we're gonna do a procedure, and we consider it life-saving." And I managed to get out it sounded clear to me, yes. And then they put me in the cath lab. People are running all around me, and they're poking and prodding, and machines are beep, beep, and like serious urgency. And then it's one of those, they give you the gas, count back from 100, and this is really going to blow your mind, but I woke up in the ICU happy as a clam. I'm telling you, I don't know if you experienced it, Montel, when you had your stroke, and I'd love to hear more about your story. However, I experienced a full and complete loss of the ego for 4 months. And regardless of I refer to it as right side paralysis. However, in technical terms, it's called right side weakness because, paralysis is the easier way to explain it. Weakness doesn't do it much justice, but that's what I was dealing with. I had all of that, and I was so stinking grateful just to be on this earth, to have a second chance, and knowing who I am, I knew I'd come back.
And Caitlin, did you make that flight also?
Yeah, so no, they never told me they were actually going to do a procedure on him when I was on my way to my dad's house. Actually, yes, when I was on my way to my parents' house, because my husband wasn't there, so I needed someone to go with. My parents are one of the best support systems that I have. They're amazing. Anyway, so my father came with me, and as I was in the car on the way to my parents' house, I got a phone call. I didn't recognize the number, but of course I answered it, and it was a doctor, and they were like, "This is so-and-so." I'm sorry, I can't remember their name. We're going to be doing a life-saving procedure on your husband. Is that okay? And I was like, "Oh, we are? We're doing brain surgery?" Yes, of course. Anything you must do to save his life. So that's how I found out. And I had to drive with my dad. So it takes about 45, 50 minutes to get to UPenn in Philadelphia. And so it was insane. I knew what Ian was like when I left him, when they took him. And when I arrived, he said he was happy as a clam, and that is exactly what he was. I heard him singing, and I heard him talking, and I was thinking about my experience, and I was thinking about your experience, and I was thinking about your wife and how terrified she must have been for those 5 days, that you were, in and out of consciousness, like in your coma. For me, I was really lucky, and Ian was awake and he was speaking, and I was just blown away. And the nurses and the doctors were cracking up laughing. And the way I can kind of describe it is, Ian has always been a very playful individual, silly. But like he said, he kind of lost his ego. So he was a little bit more juvenile in a way where he was like jubilant.
Dare we say blunt?
Yes. What's that?
Blunt.
Yes. So then that began his wave of losing his ego, I suppose, as he puts it. And yeah, he was just singing, and he was happy to see me. My dad was making him laugh, and it was just a very incredible, unbelievable, sort of surreal experience that's what I walked into from what I had seen when I left Chester County.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it was.
I'm sorry. And how long did you stay in the hospital?
So I was in the ICU for, I think, a period of 7 days and like a day or two on the step down floor. And then I was fortunate enough to go to Bryn Mawr hold on a second. Bryn Mawr Rehabilitation Hospital. So let me say that a lot happened in the time that I was in Penn and at Bryn Mawr. So I don't know how much you know about the Philadelphia area. We are very, very, very fortunate to have incredible medical institutions nearby, both teaching and non. And we are surrounded by wonderful state of the art medicine. And I am an advocate for holistic approaches as well as Western medicine. I think there's a need for both. I want to make that really, really clear. And I understand how lucky I was to be able to have the recovery services that A, my insurance covered, B, I had some connections that were able to get me into beds at places like Bryn Mawr Rehab. And I was really, really, really lucky. When we were in Penn, there were a few really cool moments. So when I first woke up after the mechanical thrombectomy and they removed the clot, it was 100% blockage brainstem. They went in through my wrist, went up and removed it. So I technically could not move the entire right side. And that first few days, they're testing you to see if you have muscle flickers. And a muscle flicker would be if I send the signal from my brain down to my arm, they can see a little twitch. And that's called a flicker, meaning the signal's going through and it's not being blocked. I didn't even have that. I had no movement. And they had this is the best part. I believe it was Dr. Laura Stein. She's a neurologist at Penn, and I will sing her praises until the day I leave.
Yeah.
They had everybody in the room, Montel. This is so cool. This is so cool. I'm laying there, and they're poking me and testing me to see what works and what doesn't, and they're trying to get me to move my big toe. And I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I'm not. And I knew that I could give them the movement that they were asking for, even though there were no flickers or anything. And there was a teaching moment, so they had like 8 to 10 people all in there. Everybody, and I'm
I
like,
know everybody was there.
yeah, it was great.
They were arguing with each other on, who was right, different theories. It was
Yeah.
really an interesting thing to watch, but also for me
Yeah.
a bit different than Ian experiencing it because he had no ego, so he was all happy about it.
Yeah. They're like, all right, now try to move your toe, and I'm like, okay, I'll do this. And I'm a very intentional, spiritual, and energetically connected individual. So I have some differences in opinion than maybe Western medicine kind of holds. And I believe you can do a lot more with will and your mind and your energy than people like to talk about. So I told them, I'll move my big toe. And I said, hold on a second. Everybody be quiet. I need to concentrate. And they're looking around like, who the fuck is in this bed? Yeah. So I go, big toe, and I talk to it. I look directly at it and I say, Ian, you're going to move this big toe. You're going to move it. We're going to twitch it and it's going to move. Ian, move your big toe. Ian, move your big toe. And then I get silent and I take all of my energy, all of my thought, and we'll call it every ounce of my chi inside of my body, and I Uma Thurman that toe. You know the moment from Kill Bill?
Sure.
like this. And everybody looked around like, what? And Montel, they come back the next day to see if there was any more progress in the big toe, right? This is the best part. I said, I'll move my leg. And they're like, whoa, don't get ahead of yourself. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, Ian, move your leg. Man, I shot that leg up so far, it almost kicked the doctor in the face, and they all went. And I said, sorry, doc. And I'm telling you, that was just the start of me showing Montel what you can achieve from the inside out. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, your recovery was really nothing short of miraculous. You started walking unassisted within 30 days, right?
Yeah. So I did the math just the other day. I think it was 2.5 weeks. Yeah,
Mhm.
23 days down to 3 weeks technically, but I didn't try to start walking really for the first few days.
I think we spent 5 days at Penn, and then from there was a 5 to 7, something in that range, kind of as a blur at this point. And then he was transferred to Bryn Mawr Rehab. But in Penn, I sort of like vlogged, I guess, if you will, the whole process of his healing and my own healing, just to help me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you end up being by yourself. Because it's my husband and I living at home. So when you leave the place, it's different for him than it is for me in my recovery, right? So I would take videos of him, and there was one of him when he first started to walk with assistance, with 2 people helping him. But I mean, anybody that knows us knows that Ian has this will that is just incredible. So I think I I believed everything he said. I knew he was going to be fine. And it was really interesting for everybody else's responses where they're like, oh, I don't know. Are you sure you really want to give him all that false hope? And it's like, I want to give him every ounce of hope that I can possibly give this man. And if he believes he can do this, he can do it. And I'm just going to support him. And if it doesn't happen and it doesn't occur when he believes it's going to occur, that's okay, because we're just going to pivot.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Let's talk a little bit about the role that cannabis played in your recovery. What does that do, and when did you start?
Absolutely. So I was not allowed to utilize it in the hospitals or the rehabilitation centers. And I was offered it through friends and family. However,
To sneak it in, he means.
yeah, whatever you want to call it. However, I wanted to play by the rules, and if their laws and their rules say that I couldn't do it, fine. Well, I'll go all in until I get out, and then I'll use the tool that I know helps. The day I left Bryn Mawr Rehabilitation Center, the first thing I did when I got into my house was start to utilize it, and
Yeah, when you say start to utilize it, are you talking about utilizing THC cannabis, or what were you using? Like CBD? What were you doing?
absolutely, Montel, I'll clarify that. No, I am a full advocate in the complete plant. I believe all the compounds play a major role and different roles together. So, organic flower and smoking is how I began to utilize it, as well as topicals like Dr. Solomon's. I think it's by GTI. An amazing product for pain, and also gummies when I needed to titrate up through the pain level. It While I wish I would have had it in the beginning, I'm glad that I had it for the next 2 years that unfolded and all of the work that I had to do. Um, I think it's absurd that it's at this point where it's we talked about this briefly, being prescribed on the front end of medical. and then being also denied on the back end of medical. That really doesn't make sense to me.
I do want to interrupt you right now and say that everybody offered you every narcotic under the sun
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and tried to really force him to take them.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing he wanted to use was cannabis and Tylenol
Mm-hmm.
and mental strength and support system. So he didn't mention that. I thought I would throw that in there just because I do believe in, same as Ian, Western medicine, but also the more holistic approach as well. And if you can go the holistic approach, that's in my way, the way to go, if that
Did
works
you
best
notice?
for you.
Did you notice any difference in the way you mentally or physically responded to the cannabis that you were using? I will tell you, my story is that I was in the hospital for 27 days, and it was really weird. Again, I was out of it for the first 5. I said 5, but I think it was 4, honestly. And on the day 5, I started literally being more lucid all day long. Um, but I couldn't walk. I had no balance. I couldn't stand up for more than about 10 seconds because when I stood up, the whole room was still circling. And I was on a walker. Even when I left the hospital, I was still on a walker. But what I did is very interesting, and I won't give out the name of the hospital right now, but I said to them, look, I work on, and I have a couple of, a little different than you. I've been working on a development, a medical device that has tremendous impact on traumatic brain injury, and it's an electronic device that literally stimulates the 2 cranial nerves in your tongue, that then stimulates the pons area of the brain, which then helps put the brain in a plastic state and finds pathways around damage. The
That's
device,
amazing.
huh?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The device is called a PONS device. I was one of the original users of it. Fully FDA approved in the United States now for MS, balance and gait. It's approved in Australia for stroke and Canada for stroke. I used that, and I literally had to get permission from the hospital to use it because it wasn't something in their protocol. And they said to me, you can do whatever you want with that, but you got to do it in your own room. And I said, okay. On another note, I literally am a manufacturer of cannabinoids, both CBD and THC. Can I utilize my products while I'm here in the hospital? And they were, you're not smoking anything, right? I said, no, most of what I'm doing is edibles. And the edibles were distinctly different between CBD and THC. So I told them, of course, I want to do the CBD here. We'll keep you getting in trouble. And they were like, okay, fine. So I started that probably on day 6, 7. And I started the election device on day 5. And my recovery then literally started just ramping up exponentially. But I still left the hospital, really not comfortable with trying to walk by myself without having a walker. I went from the day 27 down to Tennessee with my wife, flew down there to where home is, and just so happened to have a pretty phenomenal rehabilitation center that was only about a quarter of a mile away from our house. So I started rehab the next day and went through rehab every day. So from about day 40 or no, about day 32 on, I did 30 days solid of rehab, but I bounced back. Now, when I got down there, I decided that I wanted to try to add full spectrum. So I literally tried consuming a little bit of cannabis.
Like
Which,
RSO
no,
or flower.
I was straight at the flower. I went back, and I wasn't. I've never. In the last 20 years, I've not been a real big flower consumer. I'm more of a keef consumer, concentrate consumer. So I will never forget the first time I attempted to use flower. Um, I got to tell you something. I had probably the most, and I'm a no joke. Let me tell you something. I could eat a 150 milligram candy bar and be looking for another one 2 hours later. Uh, I could, there were not too many people who could outconsume me, I think. Um, And I'm not joking, because I mean, my tolerance level was extremely high. The first time I consumed some THC, it almost, in my brain, knowing cannabis the way I had known it for 40 years, I thought I was going to die, because I'm telling you, my brain was not ready for THC. My overall brain was not. I tried some, and it literally was the most overpowering euphoria that I had ever consumed, ever had in consumption. It took me a long time to, like the first time I did it, I was like, I almost passed out, hit the floor. The next time I did it, and part of my stroke, because I also have MS, so I have already damage to my brain anyway. I have become, since my stroke, and even right before it, I was extremely heat sensitive from the MS. The stroke exacerbated that by 10. So I'm telling you, I could be, I literally one day was sitting outside, here in Florida. I came back down to Florida after I went through rehab, and I was actually walking and getting around. I was a little brain fogged, but not that bad. But I had to be very, very cautious walking in between tables, walking near people. If somebody walked up to me 2 feet away from me, they would throw my balance. Just by me looking at them, my balance would be off, because I couldn't figure out whether or not they were coming too close to me or not. And so I was messed up that way.
And you're
But
trying to brace in advance for their movements.
oh, no shit, no shit. And you
Montel, are
know,
you telling me that you're in Miami with heat sensitivity, buddy?
oh yeah.
What the heck?
I can, I can explain that to you right now. I probably don't get as much real vitamin D as I should get, because I can't go outside from 9 in the morning until right now, which is like almost, it's 5 o'clock. So I can go outside now, man. No, it's 6 o'clock. What is it? Five?
Yeah.
5 o'clock. I can go outside later in the day, but I can't go outside in the middle of that heat. If I go outside, I'm,
Well, we can switch, buddy. We can switch because I have the exact opposite. You can come up to PA. I'll gladly come down to Miami. And yeah.
yeah, well, but part of me is my issue is that, because of my MS and the damage that I already have in my brain and the ponds that are in my brain, when I say heat sensitive, I am literally temperature sensitive. My body, I don't know I'm overheated until I'm already overheated. I don't know that I'm too cold until I'm already too cold. And then it takes me an hour to balance it back out. So, anyway, but I was bringing up the point that it took me, let me tell you, after being a powerful consumer of cannabis, it took me 8 months to literally even finish a single joint. Because if I took one hit too many, it would mess me up for 3 or 4 hours. I literally had to lay down on the couch and just sit still to regroup. Now that I'm years out of that, now it's no longer the same. But before my stroke, my consumption, I will tell you, was, I probably would take a hit off a vape pen or something, or I would do a little concentrate or something, a couple of times an hour. I will say that for the first 2 years, my consumption went down to less than 2 hits a day, though I could do a 5 to 10 milligram gummy, but almost always at night. That's really like the only way I could really go to sleep. Now I'm back. I am back to myself, and I can consume, but I always have to really pay very close attention to the level of THC that's in a product that I get, because it's, it goes slow as you go. Because once it's in you, it ain't coming out.
Yeah. Yep.
Sign the contract. Yep.
It's true.
So did you find that?
Um, my experience was a little bit different, but brains are like the last frontier,
Correct. All brains are different.
And I love that you're sharing this stuff with me. The medical device, that's awesome. I'm like, every time I hear a little bit more about you, I'm blown away at how much you've accomplished in your life. I didn't know you went to the Naval Academy and graduated from that. Like, that's awesome. All this stuff is really cool. So to hear you open up and share this stuff with me is uh, something I'm grateful for. So thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. So I my the problem that I had to overcome with the first utilization of cannabis was fear from other people
Right.
and their beliefs or their guidance that it would cause another stroke. And my
Guidance. I'm gonna interject there. It wasn't just guidance; it was judgment.
yeah,
it
yeah,
was it wasn't just guidance. It was don't. You're not. Why would you ever do that? Why would you let your husband do that?
Yeah. No, I know that. Believe me, I hear you. You're preaching to the choir with that because so many people say, "Well, you better stop using that cannabis." I'm like, yeah, shut up. You know what up.
I'm telling you, that's a commitment you kind of make where you spark the lighter, and that first time you're going in, you're like, well, it was really good to me in the first 40. So I guess we're gonna see what the second 40 has for me has
Right.
in store. And um, thank God I had the courage to face that fear. That is one of the constants that I have found in life. Every time I face my fear, life gets better.
Did you notice now that you've been through this? Have you noticed any difference in your response from the different cultivar or that you actually consume? Do you try to stay consistent with the same type of cultivar? Do you move it around? Did you do a little bit? I started doing some extreme research into thinking about which of the terpenes and things that I'm consuming are would be better for than others when it comes to stroke survival. And there's not a lot written, but there's a lot written on the effects of certain terpenes, the effects of certain cannabinoids, and understanding inflammation and things like that. So do you have to do that? Do you have to monitor the type of cannabis that you consume?
So
That's a
that's a
great question.
layered. It's a great question. It's a layered answer, and I love that we're getting into this. And I have since we did part one and part two. Caitlin and I watched some of your YouTubes, like the one on
The Hulk.
Jason Hulk from Dark Horse Genetics. I love that you were talking breeding, genetics, and that type of stuff. And I love that we were talking about, the original Landrace strains and how things have gotten really crossed out in this race for THC. So yeah, I am specific. I am very specific. Before the stroke, I was known as Mr. Picky because I know exactly what I want in all aspects of my life, and I tend to only accept that. And that Caitlin's laughing. So I know exactly which strains I want. I know that I would like the flower. I know specifically over concentrates. I know that I would like it to be organic, trimmed nicely. I would like it to score a 10 out of 10 on three different fronts. That's appearance, flavor, and the actual intoxication and effects. And I am in a state right now that is medically legal. Um, Growing and is not legal, and the seeing the product beforehand is not legal at the dispensary, which I don't know. That could be a whole nother podcast.
Sure.
Um, I am very specific. I do know that ultra high THC strains don't necessarily make me feel good before and after the stroke. I've experimented with CBD only strains, and weirdly, they didn't make me feel good. There was something off there. Um, I am also one that likes to know what goes into their products. And that goes as far as saying what people are using, what breeders and growers are using for uh,
Extraction.
nutrients. For nutrients, the types of extraction, are they, heat pressing rosin, or is it BHO? And I know there's science behind the evaporation of BHO and all that. I'm sorry, it can't stand up against heat pressed rosin. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I hope you are staying away from any chemical based extraction process. I will tell you, just from my own research, I know for a fact that any of the butanes, any of the hexanes, any of those kinds of chemicals can cause residual damage to your brain. So I would literally try your best if, in fact, you haven't done it so far. I like the idea where you say heat. Cold press is also probably pretty good. There are now,
bubble hash, yeah.
well, yeah, there's water and there's non-chemical extractions. Those are probably the best for people in our boat, from my perspective. Yeah, and I would run to the I would hide if somebody puts something. If somebody sits something down in front of me that's an extract, first off, I got to know 100% where it was made, who did it, by whose hand. If it's something that is, if it's a straight up flower, I want to know who grew it and where it was grown, and I'll take a look and see, what that particular, grower uses if I can find out. And I like you. If I'm going to do a flower, I need to know a lot more about it. I like to see a CTA on it. You know what I mean? A COA on it, just so I can figure out if there's any residual anything in there that could be detrimental. Heavy metals will probably be very detrimental to you too. So keep an eye on that if you can. But
I
go ahead.
absolutely will, and I love that you're saying that. We got to hang, buddy, because I'm the same way. I'm telling you, and I think that it makes a difference. And I'm going to take this conversation one step farther than just biochemistry, the science behind it, and how the cultivation of the plant is. I also want to talk about intention and the spiritual aspect of the plant, because I personally do hold this plant as a sacred spiritual technology. Um, and I do believe that humans can put intention to the things that they grow, the things that they make, and humans can get sick if someone with a off personality, triggered or triggering event, is in a lot of anger and makes dinner. I think that food can then make you sick. Or
And there is scientific research behind plants and how they react to specific music, and they make their own music. So, kind of support that in a scientific way. I think that that's true as well.
I'm sure there's though now. I mean, so you would say for a fact though, once you started using cannabis again, how did it affect your recovery, and how does it
Yeah.
affect your recovery even now?
so,
Sorry, off
um,
topic.
yeah. So I the first thing was, and Caitlin said this. This is so big, and this is so big in so many different communities. Pain relief without the risk of addiction. They lit Montel, the pain that I experienced. Oh my gosh, it was unworldly, and people saw me go through it. And I was offered OxyContin, I was offered Percocet, I was offered Vicodin, Dilaudid, Demerol, every single possible pharmaceutical that I've seen. I was born in 82. So I've seen people get hooked on these opiates, go down the path, and unfortunately, I've seen a bunch of them not make it out. Um, sure shit, I'm not going to have a brainstem stroke, go through all this stuff, have to learn how to walk, talk, feed, all this stuff, and come out of it with an opiate addiction. Not getting me. No way. Even if I have to wait 23 days before I can use cannabis, give me Tylenol. The entire time The past 2.5 years, I only took a morphine pill one time when I was rushed to the hospital, and I tapped out. And I'm proud of that. So pain relief was the absolute number one thing that it helped with initially. It also elevated my rehabilitation mindset. So I did, I think it was a solid year and a half of different rehabilitation services, and they're physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and cognitive therapy, vestibular therapy, um, and then therapy for PTSD and medical trauma as well. This is a 20-day stint inpatient for rehabilitation, and then think it was 4 3-month rounds of outpatient where I went back to the facility daily to work through the different therapies. And then 6 weeks down in Florida at an inpatient facility to walk through the PTSD of everything that happened.
What would you say to those people who are skeptics who say that your recovery has more to do with that than it had to do with cannabis? And they look at cannabis as a negative through a negative lens. What would you say to people who say that?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Could you reframe it?
Well, what would you say to those people who say, well, you're giving some credit to cannabis where honestly it was all the other rehabilitative things that you did that actually have helped your recovery, and cannabis really had a little less to do with that? Would you say to them you're crazy? What would you say?
I probably wouldn't have a conversation with those
Mhm.
people, but if I were, I mean, you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes. It's a tool that I utilized in my bag, and it it helped me tremendously. And people got to see it because I filmed the process. Like the when you're in that position and all of that stuff, that previous version of yourself was taken from you, and you are sitting there trying to get back your basic faculties, and the way that you have to do this is by grinding day in and day out and showing up. This was a legitimate performance enhancing drug or substance for me. I'm telling you, I utilized it as a tool in my toolbox, and it fit right in just like the hammer, the screwdriver, and the wrench. I
So
mean,
when he would, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm
go ahead.
sorry. I'm going to kind of elaborate on that. I think before he would go to physical therapy, he would utilize cannabis, and then he would go and it would make his experience easier for him because of, number one, like you said, it made him like amped up and he's ready to go, kind of changes his mindset.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and helps him like meditate a little bit if he needed to, but also the pain after that. And like depending on what strain you're using, it can focus, it focuses you and it helps you. Like I remember Ian, there was a doctor and she and you did not see eye to eye on cannabis. But I think about you having a conversation with her now and telling her how much that helped you to focus. And she just like, I just think she might disagree with you. But I being there as the like observer and seeing him at home and then at therapy and seeing the difference from being in the hospital at Bryn Mawr Rehab and going through all of that therapy without cannabis, there was a big difference too.
Mm-hmm.
So the pain was a little bit more eased. So then you can focus more on your recovery and like your movements and what you're doing. I think it helped you in that way. And in my own opinion, I was the one driving him around and paying attention all the time. So
And Caitlin, from your perspective, how do you think that your support of Ian helped him get through this journey? And Ian, you can address it after she says something, but
Mm-hmm.
what were you trying to do, Caitlin, to help support him through this journey?
I want to say that it wasn't just me, so I can't take all the credit, but just people gave me a lot of advice. And Ian and I, like you, we mentioned before in our first podcast, have known each other for a really long time. So I wanted him to be as positive as possible and feel that I knew what he was saying he was going to achieve. Of course you are. You're absolutely going to do this. So I feel that I was a really big help for him, but also sort of not only just being his cheerleader, but also kind of like interjecting when people would sort of give him a hard time. And his brain wasn't fully, I mean, he's not exactly the same as he was before, but it wasn't, he was still learning how to be a person, learning how to eat, learning how to respond, learning how to emotionally respond. And I did see a big difference out of Bryn Mawr rehab, went home and able to use cannabis. And he was still outpatient. So he would use cannabis and then he would go into Bryn Mawr rehab. And I noticed a complete difference emotionally for him as well. So when people would say like, oh, I don't know, like, are you sure you want to give him that false hope? Are you sure you want to let him do this? Or do you, I just made sure that I had faith in him. And I really truly believed he was going to walk out on the 23rd. And he said he was, and he did. And then after it happens, you're like, oh my God, like really, I can't believe that actually happened. But I really did truly in my heart believe. So I think as long as you support your spouse or your person or whoever you're with and you help them, but also kind of, or you be their cheerleader, but you don't let them take it too far. You sort of make sure you reel them back in just like a little gently.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Ian, now you said that your stroke redefined you and your will to live. Can you share that moment when that realization hit you and what it felt like?
Yeah. So it was, would have to backtrack. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry, Montel. Caitlin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
You.
Oh, sorry. Keep kicking that.
You are my everything. And the way that you, hold on. The way that you supported me, stuck up for me, stood by me, and maintained that foundation of our relationship meant the world for me. And I fucking love you.
I love you too, Ian. Thank you. And I appreciate the acknowledgement, we both went through it. So
Did we?
And Kayla, right now, you've seen the fact that Ian's personality has changed a little bit. His abilities have changed a little bit since the stroke. How do you adapt to those changes?
That's a really good question. And thank you for asking it. It is a crazy roller coaster ride. I'm not sure if people really understand. I mean, like Ian said, the brain's the last frontier. It's like, I'm in education, so I have a little bit of background in studying the way that the brain develops throughout, a person's life and how their perspective of life changes and so on and so forth. But the brain is incredible and it changes at rapid rates. And he would be one person 1 minute and another person the next. And it would just keep evolving and changing. And it was so fast paced.
It must have taken on you, Ian, an emotional toll. I mean, where, some of the hardest changes that you faced, what were some of the hardest changes that you faced, and how do you feel like you've overcome
them? Thank you for asking this. It was the emotional rehabilitation. So let me say that the walk, talk, feeding myself, cognitive stuff, that was hard. That was really, really hard. I had some great support. St. Maria Harris, my friend at Bryn Mawr Rehab, Lindsay Grace Hetherington, she got my hand working again. Karen and Cognitive, these people were saints. That didn't prepare me for the emotional rebuild and the trauma that I experienced the night of the stroke. And Caitlin, you remember Dr. Laura Stein tried to tell us it at Penn, get ready. And sure enough, about 6 months later, the magnitude of what happened came roaring in. And I, Montel, having previous mental health awareness and years of therapy to better myself, I realized what a toll it was taking on my marriage and my life. And when I started to have suicidal thoughts, that's when I reached out for help. And I had the courage to do it, which is cool, really cool. And I had the support from my wife.
That's what made you this advocate that you are now for incorporating mental health into stroke recovery, right? I mean, what specific changes would you like to see incorporated in all recovery programs that are designed for stroke survivors?
So we don't even need to say just stroke. I would like to say TBI,
Sure.
traumatic brain injuries specifically, and I'm putting strokes in there. That I believe that mental health needs to be talked about initially, not what the past mental health is, what's going forward in the process of recovery, and there needs to be support with people who know mental health and brain injury, because mental health, the way it is with therapy on the street, is not the same as someone who had a brain injury. It's different.
But I also think it's important to think about letting people know that the cannabis isn't going to affect your mental health
Oh,
negative manner as
yes,
well.
that was just an assumption that I had with what I was stating, that is the norm. So yes, to come back to that, um, you're correct, Caitlin.
Yeah, like having those people to not. So Ian mentioned earlier how that was a big struggle of the judgment, and he would come to me distraught, like, well, if I smoke this, are they going to think me of in this way? Or if I smoke, like, he was so terrified, and because people were throwing all their opinions at him. So I think taking away that stigma and realizing that it is a tool to help, it's not a tool to hurt, if that makes sense.
It's just another arrow in that quiver. What advice would you give to other stroke or TBI survivors who are struggling to find hope or motivation right now in their recovery?
Call me.
No, I'm serious. Instead of calling you, you probably want them to reach out to you email wise, but give out your stats. Tell me where they can go to reach you.
So Instagram, Life by the Line, previous fishing, but we're going to shift that around. Email ian.m.mcgann@gmail.com. And I'm just getting a YouTube up and running. I'll release that soon. But I would be willing to share what has worked for me and pass that on to others. And I've tried intently again and again and again to do this. I do not know that it's an interesting feeling with what I have to say when I'm in the stroke circles and kind of get dismissed by the moderators or the people that are putting on the talks or the recovery stats and what works for people. When I speak my truth and I show my stats of what actually happened,
and cannabis use and how it helped you.
Yes, that's correct. There starts to become an argument revolving around the stigma. That's disappointing. I would also like to say, because the emotional aspect was such a tough journey, that plant medicines, and I'd love to see plant medicines and cannabis be accepted in the recovery communities that we have in place. I think that I have witnessed people passing judgment on me as an individual for utilizing these medicines and tools in my quiver, and not being welcomed into the circles that are meant to heal. I was fortunate enough to attend a place called the Refuge down in Florida for PTSD resulting from medical trauma. While I was there, I couldn't use cannabis, and I was completely okay with that because I needed access to the services that they offered down there to put my psyche back together. However, I fully intended to use it as soon as I got out of there, and there was um, some talk and some direction and guidance that there really can be no good coming from cannabis, and it only leads to death and jail. Um, that narrative is someone else's script. And I know because I've lived in fear of that script and what other people have tried to push that onto me for a very long time. I was able to navigate around that and get the help that I need while I was down there at the refuge. And I'm very, very grateful for that experience down there, and all the refugees and what an impact they made on my life. However, walking away from this, I see the need for people in experiencing PTSD from combat veteran situations, experiencing PTSD from religious trauma, from medical trauma to sexual assault. And some of these people utilize plant medicines and are, because of the stigma and what goes around, they are kept out of the circles from receiving the help and the support that they need, and told that what they're doing is wrong. And I would like to personally shine some awareness on that and say, you are not wrong. You are perfect just the way you are, and you deserve to be helped the way every other human is helped.
Gotcha. And profound words. I mean, Caitlin, look, how did you maintain your own mental health throughout this entire period of time? Because to be a caregiver, you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. So what are you doing to take care of yourself so that you can help Ian?
Thanks for asking. So I was hanging out with my dog, my emotional support dog, and spending a lot of time in nature. And I don't say this, but I mean, when am I getting a chance to be on Montel? But I do have my medical card as well. I think I did mention it before, but I did also use cannabis to help me relax. I mean, I was driving into the city, and I mean, while Ian was in the hospital, I basically kind of lived there. I didn't use cannabis in the hospital or anything, but then when I would come home, I mentioned earlier, I would make kind of what I called my trauma videos. And I would like talk to the camera as if it were someone. And that was really, really helpful. So I would write in a journal, or I would record it, or, I'm really different than Ian. Ian is very outgoing. I mean, I'm kind of like an introvert, extrovert, but Ian he said, call me, right? When you asked, what advice would you give? He called everyone. So he's right. Like, talking to other people for him is what really helped him. Now for me, I don't really want to tell everybody, how I'm feeling or what I'm doing. So having that device in front of me and just literally talking to it as if it, were my audience in a way, but never going to show anyone, was really helpful. And I would go in nature and I would talk to my best friends and my family. I mean, our support system is just stellar. I have to say thanks to everybody.
That support system is as important to the recovery of the person who is the patient as it is to the caregiver who is helping that patient, right?
Absolutely. They always made sure to check in on me and ask me if I was, tending to myself, so much so that I'd be like, yes, I'm annoyed with you. Stop asking me. I'm absolutely doing it. I promise. I got a lot of sleep when I could. I find sleep for me is a nice way to reboot and kind of re-energize. So I utilize that a lot.
Per-tank clan, Caitlin, lots of therapy there.
We have 4 cats that we ended up getting after a stroke. We mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned that, but they are named after the Wu-Tang Clan. I call them the Per-Tang Clan. So anyway, emotional support animals. They are awesome. My dog Jacob, who I mentioned several times, is older, and he's just been my companion. I mean, having him here too, talking to him, which sounds kind of crazy, but I know animal people know what I mean.
Sure.
But something like that was also so helpful. So I'm an advocate for, therapy animals, cannabis when used responsibly. I talked earlier of saying like it can only help you, not hurt you. But I mean, there are some people, you just got to be careful with what you're doing and make sure you pay attention with anything that you're doing.
Is there anything you wish you had known or done differently during Ian's medical emergency and his recovery that, looking back at it now, since you've been through this, is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
I would want to say in the beginning, being honest. Maybe it would never have happened, but actually, I believe everything is meant to happen for a reason. So I'm going to say no. I feel like we are where we need to be. I think that with the support system and with my own life experience and the fact that Ian and my own relationship, that we've known each other for such a long time, I think what we did worked. Now, I'm not saying it was easy.
But to the both of you, I mean, do you think this experience has strengthened your relationship or changed the way you approach your lives together?
Oh,
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
In what way? In what way, Caitlin?
Well, I'm still kind of, we're all kind of recovering for the rest of our lives of big experiences that we have. But I mentioned I'm a teacher, and it didn't stop for me. Ian, his job was recovery. My job was to support him, but my job was also to go to work. And so I'd have to leave him and compartmentalize and have that sort of, I'm going to work. I'm going to think about this right now. And this is what happens. It bleeds into your life. So I felt my students, after the 2 years, were kind of walking on me a little, because I was so used to catering. And as I mentioned before, we don't have children by choice. And, usually you're not going to give me a sob face, and, I'm going to be like, listen, that's not going to work on me. But when your husband's having some very serious, mental health things, where the stroke made him, hopefully you don't care, Ian, but it made him cry constantly. I mean, uncontrollably. Like you say with your temperature, it was that too. So
That's called emotional lability, which is affected by, damage to the brain and areas of the brain. So yes, without that, go ahead.
The pseudobulbar
pseudobulbar effect. That's what they call it, because they needed to come up with a name so they could throw a medication at it. But at the same time, pseudobulbar effect is something that, if you look it up, it's called emotional lability, which is controlled by the pons area of the brain, which is the area of the brain that you had your stroke in, near the area where you had stroke in. So that can be affected. That is a literally remnant of your brain damage. Just so you understand and know, because of some of the scarring in my brain from my MS, I suffer from that also. So, and there were times when, it affected me both in my highs and my lows. So you may find the cannabis and certain cannabinoids can help balance that out and make that a little bit less responsive as it has been. Let me just say, you guys, your story is really like a testament to resilience and the power of advocacy. What message do you want to leave with our listeners?
Do you mind if I go first, Ian?
Yeah, please. I need time to think about
it. Don't judge people. Don't judge people.
Mic drop. No, yeah.
I mean, I've seen some things in my life. I've gone through some things, and we shared our story a lot in the hospital. We saw so many people, and you know, we're all humans, and if something is happening terrible to another human, it doesn't matter who they are, what they look like, what they're on. I mean, empathy is real. So
Should be.
yeah, it should be. But as a teacher, I learned not from the students, but from trainings that we had to go to, that teaching empathy, I didn't really realize, I guess, that people just don't have that naturally. Because I think one of my strong suits, I'm like very loyal and I'm way too empathetic. So I didn't really realize that wasn't a thing. So like this for me is like, how can't you be? I mean, I'm around teenagers all the time, and I think that trained me too to help Ian with his emotional things. But just don't judge people. I mean, you don't know what somebody else is going through, and that person's somebody else's mom, sister, brother, husband, kid, name it.
Sure. And Ian, how about you?
Is number one's judgment. And I have no idea what it's like to be a woman. I have no idea what it's like to be Chinese. I have no idea what it's like to be black. Put yourself in any of the margins. I have no idea. The one thing I do know is what it feels like to be judged when your life is on the line. Judgment is a very nasty thing for human beings. And the judgment of our peers and passing judgment on our peers really does not help humanity. And I'd like to shine light on that and awareness through my experience and the hell that I walked, and hopefully maybe have a little ripple effect and get people to listen and understand that the other side, it's just like you with whatever you're dealing with. I mean, sex, race, politics, we're all humans. That's it. It's crazy. And then on the second side of that, I'd like people to see, because this isn't the first time I've done something so miraculous, what you can do and you can accomplish when you want it and you put your mind to it, and what's possible. This was a miracle that I'm meant to share, so that people know that they can do these miraculous things too. Judgment and what we're capable of.
Thank you both so much for sharing your journey. It's stories like yours that inspire and change and spark meaningful conversations in all of us. So, Ian, Caitlin, I want to say it's an honor having had you on Let's Be Blunt. I'm out of time. And one more time, Ian, give out that website or where people can go to reach you.
So if you want to get in contact with me, my email's ian.m as in Michael .mcgann@gmail.com. My Instagram is Life by the Line. And it's we're going to be changing it into advocacy and speaking and that type of stuff. But start to follow. I post a lot. And I have a YouTube coming out.
Well, there you go, my friend. Well, thank you so much for being part of Let's Be Blunt today. This has been an exceptional episode. I really hope that people understand, if this is the definition of resilience, and really an explanation of what it really means to love your partner and love them unconditionally. So I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the show today. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening and watching, and make sure you tune into the next one. Stay inspired, stay blunt. I'll see you on the next Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments. Military Makeover is so grateful for the support of Purple Heart Homes, a nonprofit organization that rebuilds and transforms the homes for our veterans.
Our heroes come home with sacrifices most of us can't imagine. As a veteran myself, I've been there and founded Purple Heart Homes to help.
When I tell the story of Purple Heart Homes, it's the freedom to not have to depend on somebody else to do the simple everyday things in life.
Visit phhusa.org/makeover to learn how you can help.